Soulful Sauna, Stories of Self-Mastery. Thank you for joining us. It is you, the viewer, that makes this podcast. Your host, Juliette Noske, and her guests are here to share stories of self-mastery, to inspire you and ignite the power of positive change on your own journey. Thank you for being with us. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Soulful Sauna podcast, whether you're joining us and you can see us or you're joining us and just listening in. It's wonderful to have you here today. And it is really my pleasure to have the wonderful Lucy Wylde joining me today. I first heard her at the Heart of the Rose Festival. So Lucy Wylde is a singer, a songwriter, a vocal alchemist, a breathwork facilitator, and founder of the beautiful Medicine Woman Gathering, which my sister had the pleasure of being at and volunteering at this year as well. And hopefully I'm looking forward to coming to you next year. Hello, Lucy.
Hi. Nice to be here with you. Thanks for inviting me.
You are welcome. You're more than welcome. It's so wonderful. And where are you today?
So I live in a little annex just on the edge of Dartmoor. So I'm at home in my little coziness.
Yeah.
It's absolutely chucking it down outside right now.
Yeah. You certainly look cozy as well.
Thank you.
So tell me, how did you get into singing? Because I noticed that you write your own songs as well, and you call yourself a vocal alchemist as well, which sounds very fascinating. I love singing on all levels. So yeah, tell me how that all began.
So I've pretty much sung my whole life. It's been something that hasn't felt unnatural to me. However, I have had my own journey with learning to love my voice, which is something that I teach as well, is vocal empowerment. And my voice has pretty much kept me sane, kept me here. And through the power of my voice, I have really been able to heal myself through so much trauma, through childhood trauma, everything that I went through. And when I say around vocal alchemy now, what I mean in that is that I have such a passion and desire for learning how the voice works. And this was kind of a really big part of my journey when I went to study the voice at BIM. I really wanted to know how the voice works, and not only on a scientific level, but on a more spiritual level. So I really dedicated my study to learning what happens when we sound. And what I realized is that when I sing, I tend to create quite a stir in people's beings, to the point that it can really bring them into quite an emotional state. And I think that's why I call myself a vocal alchemist, is because through my voice, I have this innate ability to really touch the people's hearts in a way that not that everyone can, but just I guess my voice has been made through my own healing journey, and that is said through my voice, and I feel that people really, really feel that, which is where the alchemy happens, because it's, as I'm singing, I'm healing myself, and I'm not only healing myself, but I'm healing everyone around me too. And it's like coming back into that sense of community through the power of the voice, which is just completely fascinating to me.
Yeah. So there's because I've studied a bit about alchemy, and it's often thought of as this creation of gold, out of heavy metals, but obviously there's deeper meaning in there in relation to transmuting heavy feelings or heavy emotions or just heavy things in general, heavy energy, into a lighter, more loving vibration. And I can really feel that in what you're saying, that transmutation of energy, and the way that you bring those emotions up in people, and you literally move them into that state of transmutation. Yeah, that's beautiful. And when I asked you if you had a crazy and wild fact about you, you said something fascinating. Tell me what you said.
I got really stuck on this question. I was like, what's really fascinating about me? And like a really fun fact. And then I remembered that my mom had said to me that when I was younger, instead of waking up crying, I used to wake up singing or humming. So I'd be like, rather than crying. Either I was just a very self-sufficient baby, or like, I don't know.
Yeah, I just think that's fantastic. I'm definitely a hummer. I'm not sure as a baby, but I'm definitely a hummer, and get told that I'm, reminded that I'm humming all the time or making sounds. That really resonates with me. Yeah. And obviously I asked you about the sauna and your sauna experience, this being the Soulful Sauna podcast. So what is your sauna story that you have to tell us about?
So when I was 16, I was with a guy who was half Finnish, and I ended up leaving my home to move in with them just before I was 18. And one summer we went to Finland, and I actually got to experience a traditional Finnish sauna with the birch and next to a big lake, which I was too afraid to jump into, but they all jumped into it. There was a little cabin, and there was no running water, no electricity. So it was really just out in the wilderness, just about 40 minutes from Tampere, which is another kind of big town city in Finland. And it was amazing. It was like part of the tradition. Every evening we'd have a sauna, or a sauna, I should say. It's not a sauna, it's a sauna. Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah. And how old were you then?
So I think I was 18, maybe 19. Yeah.
And did they tell you much about the cultural history of the sauna?
I'm sure they did, but I can't remember. It was a few years ago now.
Yeah. Was that in the winter, was it?
No, it was in the summer.
Oh, it was in the summer as well. Okay.
Yeah. But one thing I do know is that they have sauna competitions in Finland.
Oh.
See who can stay in the sauna for long enough.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I'm taking it you didn't join in with that. No. I have felt that that way a little bit when I've been having conversations with people in the sauna, because it's fascinating. I mean, the reason I started the podcast was because of these amazing conversations I was having with people, and I was like, these stories of self-mastery, they need to be shared. And you stay in the sauna because you really want to continue the conversation. And I've had those moments where like you're both gasping, you can tell the other person as well needs to get out, and so then you like just step out just outside the sauna and continue your conversation and stuff. So yeah, it's not easy to stay in there for long amounts of time, that's for sure.
No, I can do about 40 minutes and then I'm like, okay, I'm out.
40 minutes?
Yeah.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
quite long, because normally I think it's between 15 and 20 minutes is the like the timer in the UK.
Yeah, I have this way of liking I like to not push my limits, but just see, actually, is this a fear-based thing that's coming in? Oh, I need to leave. Or is this actually on that deeper level? Is my body just starting to warm up? And actually, where I've been quite cold recently, I've been told I've got a bit of damp in my physical body. Sometimes it takes me about 20 minutes to even just warm up to being in the sauna, and then it's like, oh, and then I'll finally sink in.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
And
if I do find that it's too hot, then I use conscious connected breathing, and it really helps me to then just like, yeah.
Oh, that's fascinating. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you said that there was a lake, but you were a bit scared to jump in the lake. Was that because it was dark and you couldn't see the
No,
bottom?
well, no, it was so where we were, there was something called the midnight sun. So it was just light all the time. Like the
Oh,
sun would set at around 10:30, 11 at night, and it would hit the horizon and it would almost go down, and then it would start rising again.
wow.
So it was just constantly light.
Right. Were you quite far up in the north then?
I think Tampere is kind of midway. Yeah, it's kind of mid Finland. So it's, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, don't quote me on that.
Yeah. I'll check the map, don't worry.
Yeah.
Oh. So I had the pleasure of hearing your beautiful voice at the Heart of the Rose Festival, and I was also recommended by several other people to listen to you. One of them being my sister, who'd experienced your voice at Medicine Festival, the Medicine Woman gathering that you created, and one of them, Sam. And yeah, so when did you start your journey as a professional singer, would you say?
I started when, as a professional singer, that's such a hard question. I mean, I started singing on stage when I was maybe 9 or 10. And I remember when I was 14, I won a competition at school called the Ags Factor, because I went to a school called the Ags Valley in Axminster. And I used to go to open mics with my brother. He used to play guitar and I used to sing. And then that shifted, and then I got into a function band with my dad as the backing singer. So I've had all these kind of little pockets of performance and having a real feel of a musician's life. And then when I was 23, I really made the decision to go to university to study music. And this is where I feel like my professional career kind of really started to take shape. And I have a lot to thank. It's called BIM, British and Irish Institute of Modern Music. I have a lot to thank BIM for, because they really helped to shape me as to how to be as an artist, to learn all about the equipment, to learn how to use the microphone properly, to learn how to be in the recording studio, all of these things. And then, of course, learning specifically around the voice and vocal technique and all of these things. And I started that in 2015, and then in 2017 I got offered a gig, and I was only just starting to learn guitar, and I was like, okay. I was in Australia at the time traveling, and I just said, okay, that's it. No turning back now. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna really focus on my musician's path and and take this step. And I haven't always wrote music like this. When I was still at BIM, I wrote a lot of music around heartbreak. And I think I just, obviously what I've learned around music is that it's an outlet, or it's the creative essence of turning whatever is on the inside into alchemy. So turning it into a song, just like with the hands and the weaving and any creative art, it's there to help us tend to our grief, tend to those parts of ourselves that maybe we don't know how to express in like words, or but actually writing it into a song is, for me, that is my alchemy. That is how I heal myself. And so yeah, I wrote a lot of very strange songs, a lot of angry songs. And then
do you have an album, the Angry Album?
No. I still have one song actually, which was recorded and mastered, but I've never released it. Maybe one day I'll share it, but
Yeah.
I don't know, it might be a bit late now. And yeah, and then we did one concert, which was like the introduction. I used to be called Lou, Lue. So we were a band, and I wrote the songs, and then my band would come along. There was a 7-piece band. There was piano, cello, drums, bass guitar, singer, acoustic guitar. It was full. We did one gig, and then all of a sudden it just went, that's the end of that. And I had this like, what I would call this like ego death of not knowing where my musical path was going, or like, where, because that all just dispersed, and it almost, as well, it felt complete. It was so strange. It was like, and now it's like going in a different direction. And it took me probably about a year to start stepping into that path. So that would have been in April, and then August that year, August the following year, after writing and having the download of Ocean Song. So yeah, about 15 months after that, I finally wrote Ocean Song, and I was like, this is it. This is the path I'm going on, and this is the path I need to carry on taking. I did record a little EP, which you can find on Bandcamp and those kind of places, which actually has the remnants of those songs that I wrote back at university. The ones that I felt really, actually, they're almost on that precipice. So they're not too like angry, but they still have that kind of edginess to them. But also that sweetness too.
Yeah. Fantastic. Yeah, I really resonate with that. And for me, when I studied drama, I was very cathartic in many ways, because I was able to be a character and experience emotions and feelings in different situations without them being so personal, and kind of unaware of that in the beginning. And so it was very catalytic for me, and helped me with my own learning and growth. So I completely resonate with that. Very beautiful. And you remember when your kind of self-mastery journey began? When you really started to embody like your own conscious learning and growth and that awakening?
Yeah. It would have been February 2018, when I finally decided to kick my partying lifestyle shut the door behind me, and I literally never looked back. The next, I think it was like 2 weekends after that, I went to a womb healing ceremony and then a cacao ceremony, and met someone who then became a catalyst for my growth in my life quite strongly. Wasn't a healthy relationship, but of course, you know, it was, it allowed me to take a journey of learning what my boundaries were and really opening my door to who I was without having my reality questioned all the time. I'm very grateful for that relationship, actually, because, you know, I don't think I would be as strong as I am today without that. And at that time as well, this person really also helped me to kick my addictions through the threatening and through the fear of him leaving, which actually, even though it was quite like a negative, you know, it was quite negative, but at the time, actually, it was quite positive as well, because without that, I don't know if I would be on this path right now. But, you know, he did give me the strength to say, no, this is who I am, and this is the path I'm taking. So yeah, it's been 5 years now since I started that path.
And that positivity coming out of the negativity, it's like I have this image of, you know, the lotus. So you've got all the mud and the dirt and the crap, and, you know, and then there's out of that the roots of the lotus, and then it comes up through the water and it's growing. And I think sometimes when we're in it, we can't necessarily realize that the amazing positivity and growth and the beautiful blossoming that's coming out of it. But quite often it's those moments of muddiness, of maybe what we might say is negative, you know, that actually like impulse us into this these positive growths and, you know, learnings, where we do have realizations. Because I remember, don't know if you've heard of Neil Donald Walsh and Conversations with God, and there's a child's version called Little Soul Under the Sun, and he talks about how in that book he talks about how, you know, the soul wants to come down to earth because they want to experience themselves as something, and the other soul says, you know, well, I'll come down and I'll do something really horrible to you, so then you can learn forgiveness. And it's that story of, you know, if everything was perfect, we wouldn't need to learn forgiveness or compassion or patience. So yeah, that's wonderful that you were able to then see that that relationship gave you that growth and kind of kicked your butt onto the journey.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
And when you're singing and on your singing journey, what are some key learnings or moments that have stood out for you? I know you've spoken about it a little bit, but are there any more kind of key learnings and moments that you can really highlight along your journey?
I think one of the biggest key moments or learnings for me was how powerful my voice is for calming my nervous system. And the voice is very much connected to the polyvagus nerve, which runs from top of the back of the head all the way down. And when we sing, we actually massage our whole body, our whole endocrine system as well. And when we use our diaphragm, you know, it expands, it massages all of our organs, and it allows us to have a much fuller breath as well. And when I was going through a time of feeling quite lost just before I moved to Brighton when I was 23, I got into a bit of trouble with addiction, and I actually stopped singing. And through this, what I noticed was my mental health declined dramatically. to the point where I have hospitalized myself a few times. And I realized I wasn't singing. And so it's such it's like that Lakota proverb that says, you know, for those that are sick, when did you stop singing? When did you stop dancing? And when did you stop praying? And it's so, so true to life, really. And for me personally, you know, like my voice has kept me sane in the most beautiful way, you know, in all of my life, and that safety net that it gives me as well is just, yeah, it's profound.
Yeah, and yeah, when I've been on horses, and it's been a very crazy horse, when I was younger, more so because I used to horse ride a lot more, I noticed that I used to sing as well, and that really yeah makes sense then, that it kind of relaxes and calms. And what I was thinking about as you were speaking there was all those people that think, well, I'm not a professional singer. And what would you say to those, you know, those people who don't see themselves as a professional singer, but maybe, you know, feel this little twinkling urge to sing?
Yeah, this is the main thing that I teach on my courses. I have so many people, even, you know, even if they don't join my course, I have so many people reach out to me and say, oh, I love your course, sounds amazing, but I can't sing. Is it just for singers? Is this, you know, what is this? And what I've come to learn on my journey is that there's no such thing as the perfect voice. It's the reality that we create within our minds that makes us think that we have to sound like this person, or we have to sound like this person, otherwise we're not a good singer. And it's a bit like that statement as well, the grass is always greener on the other side. I'll sing when I can sound like that person. I'll sing when I can sound like this person, right? And the one thing that I share on my vocal journey, which is so potent, and I shared a little bit as we started to go deeper. We're on week 2 now, just completed week 2. And what I share is that when we start to see our voice not as this big, like, we have to sing like this, but actually see it as a tool that is part of wanting us to stay in harmony with ourselves and wanting to heal us. Because every single voice that is unique to every single person that is born is completely theirs and no one else's. You know, no one in this world has exactly the same voice as the next person. It's so unique to every single person. And when we can start to celebrate that and really see that our voice was gifted to us for us and only us, really, that's when we can start to come into right relationship with what we have and what we were given.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what are some of the pieces of feedback that you've had for people that have completed your course in relation to this?
So there was a really lovely woman named Elle, I'm sure she won't mind me sharing, who came to my voice course, who really wanted to build that confidence. And now she's released, I think, 3 singles in that time, and she's just on this path of just, you know, getting out there and you know, living her dream, and to build that confidence so that we can really, you know, spread our wings and take flight with our gifts. is just, you know, that really warms my heart. A lot of other feedback that I get is that the space that I hold is really gentle, and I'm not a pusher in any way. I go at the pace of the group, and for me that's really important, especially with the amount of like trauma that, you know, us as humans, whether we feel like we've been through big, copious, excessive traumatic experiences, or even the tiniest things, from the way that our mother would speak to us, you know, it has such a detrimental effect on our voice and how we speak up. That for me, it's really, really important that we take it slow and we create safety, so that then we can kind of drop, and then from that place we can start to explore. And it's been amazing.
Yeah, it sounds wonderful, like a kind of a musical womb space that you're creating.
Yeah, it is very, very womb-like, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And speaking about wombs and women, what had you create Medicine Woman Gathering?
What had me create Medicine Woman Gathering? Well, it was actually my co-working partner at the time, Melody, and we were walking the land that she owns with her partner Mark, and she came to me and said, I'd really like to create a women's gathering. And she knew at the time that she may have also just about conceived a baby. There was the potentialness there. So there wasn't like, are we going to do this? Are we not? And as time went on, it got to December last year, and we had a call, and we were like, are we going to do this? Are we not? And by that time, she knew she was pregnant. And I just felt in my being this yes, this big yes, I'm doing this. And it really felt like the rest was history. It felt like as soon as I committed that yes, it was like my body expanded into this, like, okay, the spirit of Medicine Woman just came down into my being. It was like, okay, you're going to be the carrier of this. You're going to step this path onwards for the women. And this is what I want you to do. And I was like, whoa. So I started having dreams about what needed to be created, putting a festival or a gathering together. It was like 16-hour days of just constant communicating with people, getting the lineup ready, making sure everything was in place, and et cetera, et cetera. And most of the time, I didn't feel tired at all. And it was just phenomenal. I don't know where the energy came from at all, but it really was a joyous process to create, actually, and to see everyone's faces at the end. We did an anointing ceremony to end the gathering, so that each of the women could really leave with a gift of feeling nurtured and just really in a place of, I feel totally seen. And to look around and see the faces of tears and joy and just complete openness, just, yeah, my heart was just like, it's like, okay, my work is done for this year.
Yeah. Sounds amazing. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to be there this year, but next year it's already penciled in. So
Amazing.
And it's in July, isn't it?
Yes, it's the 25th till the 29th of July this year, next year.
I'll put some information in the blurb so that people can check that out.
Awesome. Thank you. Yes. And tickets are already on sale.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And so with the creating of the Medicine Woman Gathering, what do you have, like a vision of where you would like it to blossom into? Do you have, I guess, do you have like a vision for the people that attend, the women that attend the gathering?
That's a very good question. I do. And I actually had a call with my 2 new kind of managers. I'm creating it with 2 other women, amazing women, who I'll be introducing on our Instagram page in the next few days. And my intention for this gathering and for the women is really, really about coming back into right relationship with the land and with each other. And through that space that is created, we can celebrate, we can dance, we can weave, we can share our stories, we can drum around the fire, and really a place to deeply connect with the land, especially because I feel that our bodies are made of this land, and whether it's England or further afield, depending on who's coming. And for me, I feel that the greatest healing that we'll be able to not only heal ourselves, but to heal this earth as well, is to come back into right relationship. And what I've noticed through my own journey of being in right relationship with this earth is that she's so happy. She's so happy, and she wants us to do well. She's going to be fine, whatever happens. Which might upset a few people, me saying that, but but what I mean is that when we start to come into that place of generosity and abundance and pure unconditional love for this earth, for tending to ourselves and others that are around us, then peace will start to be created more and more.
Yeah. I think it's in Isla Schiffer's song where she says that we're not here to save the earth is here to save us. And that shift in perspective and that realization that we're the ones that have put up the barriers and separated ourselves and moved away from and created distance from Mother Nature. It's a huge step in our reconnection, and part of the work I'm doing with young people in schools as well. And when you speak about the piece of land, especially, I mean, I know you're speaking about land in general. I can't remember if I told you, but I was called back from Spain to be near Glastonbury, the heart chakra of the world, because I felt my energy was needed. And I got this message in meditation. And when I came back, I went to Glastonbury to visit with my mum, and I found this place that we could rock up to and just park my van that we sleep in. And we met this wonderful lady, and we parked up and we stayed there the night, and we spent a wonderful, amazing weekend in Glastonbury, my mum and I, and loads of synchronistic magical things happened. And then off we went home, and almost a year later I was in Wales working with young people on a retreat, one of the programs that I do. And my sister said, "Oh, we're not going to the normal camping place. We're going to this place." And where I was, they'd mentioned this thing called Crops Not Shops in Glastonbury and said how wonderful it was. And I was like, "Oh, great. I have to go there sometime." And over the phone, my sister said, "Oh, we're going to this place, this bit of land, and it's called Crops Not Shops." And I was like, you're joking me. Anyway, so I turn up there. My sister's already set up her camping, and we arrive on the first day, and I'm walking around, and my sister's introducing me to different people, and then she says, oh, the lady's coming to show us around the land. And I was like, oh, fantastic. And over comes this lady and introduces herself as Melody, and I was like, Melody, hello. And just so happens that the year before, when my mum and I had visited this piece of land in Glastonbury, it was that piece of land, except we'd come in a different entrance and stayed on a slightly different part of the land. And then a sound bath that I'd been to in Wales just literally a week or two before, on a random thing, I saw a lady outside a village hall, and I was like, oh, because you've got all these musical instruments, what are you doing? And she's like, oh, a sound bath, come in, and there should be space for you. Faye was also there, and it was just all these very interesting magical synchronicities, and I was like, okay. The message is clear, and my sister and I return there often to that piece of land, and it is very magical, that piece of land. Yeah,
it's really, really special, and what Che and the team are doing there for Crops Not Shops is just phenomenal. It's really, really special.
Yeah, and Sam was also telling me about another transformational thing that happened when the catering company pulled out.
Oh yeah.
share with me, because that just sounds phenomenal.
So not something we intend to repeat. So 3 days before the gathering, we had no caterer, we had no sauna, and one of our structures pulled out 3 days before. And I was at a point of breaking down and not sure whether I was just going to cancel the whole thing. And amazingly, I had called upon 2 incredible angels who had worked in events management before, who were dear sisters of mine who I'd met through an online sisterhood, one named Lex and one named Aura. And without them, I'm not sure that I would have been able to really, actually make it work, make it happen. But what happened was Aura took the liberty of creating a co-creation through the volunteers that had already applied to come to Medicine Woman. And it just so happened that 2 of them were chefs, and one of them used to work in Osho Lila. So they were very happy with cooking for big amounts of people. And through the power of community and coming together, Crops Not Shops very kindly gave us fresh vegetables from their garden. The volunteers all came together to create a big pot meal for everyone every day. And we created this very strange kitchen out of nothing. And we made it work. Somehow everybody got fed. And it was amazing. This co-creation of just everyone coming together was just like, so strong. Really, really powerful.
Yeah. And I know you said at the beginning there, this won't happen again, but it's just like, it maybe it's not meant to happen again, but it was definitely meant to happen this time. And it's just shows that, when things get to that really kind of dark point, sometimes that's when the miracles, burst forth. And when Sam was telling me this story, I was just like, wow. Like you said, the community came together, the chefs were there, the volunteers stepped up. And as you also said, it takes a team. It's not about, this year is as astrologically, I've heard it again and again from spiritual teachers, from astrological teachers. This year is really about stepping into our interdependence, and great, we can be independent and we can do it alone if we need to. And it's about stepping into community and realizing that, you know, we can do a whole lot more together. And in fact, it's fun when we do it together, and, you know, magic gets created.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
It really was a very special piece.
Yeah.
Of this gathering. And one of the things I was calling in was co-creation, and
Yeah.
I wasn't quite sure I was going to go to that level, but you know, it also just goes to show, be careful what you wish for.
Yeah. And talking about co-creation, so tell me more about the co-creation that you are working with around your music as well. So you're not just doing it alone, are you?
I'm not sure I understand your question, sorry.
So you're working with other artists with your music as well currently?
Yes, I think so.
Which other artists do you work with at the moment?
I've been working, I've been teaming up with Seven Rose a little bit with my music. We've just completed a very small tour of the Southwest and the South, which was really beautiful, really, really stunning. Yeah, and I've worked with Asher McCarthy. He's worked a little bit on my tracks, which is really beautiful. And my producer, who I work with, is just pretty much my lifeline. He's who helps create my songs from my very small demos that I create, just like the bare bones of the different instruments I have. And then we create it into a much larger soundscape. Yeah.
So is that you playing lots of different instruments, or is that other people also playing some of those instruments?
Yeah, so it's mostly myself and Seb that play on the track. And then we might get like one or two guest musicians. For example, with my next single, Courage, Mike Stanton is playing some octave guitar on it. And this next single is going to be very special, and I'm not going to share anything until it's ready to be shared, but I'm very, very excited for it to be released.
And are there any challenges that you faced working with other people that have really given you a sense of learning on your self-mastery journey? So working with people is not always easy, and, you know, relationships in general sometimes, you know, we have like challenges or hurdles. Are there any specific learnings that you have?
Yeah, I think every relationship has learnings within it. If we really allow ourselves to open up to it, and not seeing the learnings as like, oh, this is a bad relationship, because I don't think there's any such thing as a bad relationship. It's just everything's there to help us learn and grow in one way, shape, or another. And yeah, I mean, a lot of relationships, what seems to be my biggest learning in life is learning my key core values of what I need from a partner, whether that's a co-working partner or a relationship partner, and also around my boundaries. Yeah, that seems to be my two main things that I learn.
Yeah.
I'm sure is similar to a lot of people. Hey.
And do you have any tips for everyone out there?
I think my biggest tip would be never second guess. Can't say it. Never second guess your internal instinct, because it's always true. It's always right. And those that make you believe that it's not the truth, yeah, just listen to how that makes you feel. Then you'll know the answer.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I often tell people it's that quiet whisper that happens first.
Mm-hmm.
And it's quite good if you can action that almost, and maybe not immediately, but almost, as quickly as possible, because otherwise the loud monkey mind kind of steps in with all its kind of reasoning and excuses and other stuff. So yeah, it's really really listening to that soft quiet voice and that instinct that you feel inside.
Yeah.
Thank you. So with your music, what would you say? You said that you're like, what you write about has really changed. Do you notice that has happened along with your own personal growth?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So I feel like my songs, they very much start from this place of being my own nurturing kind of babies, I suppose, like these little pockets of love that just come from my higher self, or what's really in my awareness and in my field that maybe I can't express or feel through emotional expression, but I'm able to express it by writing a song about it, or writing poetry, and then that gets turned into a song. And yeah, when I started writing, it was, the first song I wrote, the lyrics of the song was, I'll just say a couple of lines, but it was slip into a state of mind. Let me cry under your moonlight. Hold me in your heavy arms. No one to blame. Who am I? Like that. Those were the first lyrics I ever wrote. So it just kind of goes to show this journey of this, like, oh, I don't know what's going on. What's life? What's happening? To now being like, okay, now I'm writing songs about belonging and coming back to the heart and knowing that love, yeah, my most recent song I wrote is called Love Is All There Is. And as I've kind of grown with my emotional state and my physical and my spiritual and the mental, it's like this, I'm able to create these songs that are like, yeah, from a much higher perspective, which is, yeah, it's really beautiful to be there.
Sounds fantastic. And I really feel that journey. I saw a documentary recently of Taylor Swift, and it was fascinating seeing her on her journey as well, and seeing how she slowly found her voice, although she was singing the whole time. It's about, like you say, finding your own voice and setting up your boundaries and being able to speak your truth. Yeah,
totally. And yeah, I think that's a very good point to share, is just because I'm a singer doesn't mean that I found my voice. Yeah. And yeah, very similar to Taylor Swift. I think I know the documentary you watched. And yeah, when I was at BIM, I was kind of seen as the next Florence-esque, like I was the next Florence in the Machine incoming, and I cut my hair like hers, I dyed it red, did all those crazy things you do when you go to uni. And then I realized actually singing like that was really painful. I could do it, but it was really painful. And it took a lot of effort and softening into actually what my voice was really allowed me to find who I was. And something I shared last night on my breathwork journey on my course was around my breathwork journey and how it was actually through my breathwork that I learned to find my voice, which is why whenever I work one-to-one with someone who wants to work on their voice, I always, with their permission, if they'd like to, always offer them a breathwork session. And then we work on the voice, because the voice actually starts with our breath. And if we don't have a big expansive breath, we're not going to be able to sing as fully from that really expansive place that is deep within our being.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. And is there any final message that you'd like to leave people with before we end today's conversation?
Nothing's coming to mind right now, but I'm sure as soon as we end it, there'll be a million, right? What happened? What about this? What about this? Oh, I know. This came to me the other day. This is like my little thing for my yogi teas.
Oh, I love those.
The world needs your unique gifts, so don't leave with them still inside of you. Well, that's a really good one.
Yeah. Fantastic. Thank you very much. So whether that's singing or whether that's something else, don't keep your unique gifts inside of you, because the world needs them. Thank you so much, Lucy. It's been really wonderful having you on the podcast. We're all looking forward to Medicine Woman Gathering.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you to Matt and Ken at Thermalux UK for offering their saunas as a space for me to record my podcast in. Soulful Saunas, stories of self-mastery.